In this lesson, we're going to look at 12.8 Day 2. We are still factoring by grouping. In the previous lesson, you saw how we took a polynomial with 4 terms and we grouped things together and then we factored. Well, it also works with a trinomial. So you can see here we have 2x squared plus 13x plus 15, but I would like for you to realize that this is in standard form back to a normal quadratic. An ax squared plus bx plus c, and when it's in this form we can actually make it a grouping problem. So recall back to when we started factoring and I gave you the puzzles, the x's and o's, and it only worked when a was 1. Well, what was really going on with that lesson is that it was taking the a and the c and multiplying them together. So since it was a 1, we just wrote down C for ceiling. So now I want you to remember that you multiply A and C. So how can you remember that they go on top? Remember the attic and the ceiling are on top. So those are your attic and ceiling together. And then B is still the basement. Now, when you get your numbers multiplied together and you get your middle term adding together, you can put numbers in here, which is going to make a polynomial with 4 terms. So let me show you what I mean. So here we have a 2 and a 15. So we multiply 2 times 15 for a 30, and we have a 13 that we are trying to get in the middle. Now here's what's so great about grouping. You can put the numbers in any order and it will work. It will always work. So step 1, find the product of A and C. We did. It was 30. We put it in the top of the X. Step 2, find the factors of AC that have the sum of B. So I'm going to automatically think of 10 and 3. Now, here it says rewrite the trinomial, and I'm going to add here, so please write this down, make an equivalent or an equal statement with 4 terms. So this is what I'm talking about. I have 2x squared plus 13x plus 15. Well, I can rewrite 13x, so it is 2x squared plus. I'm going to take these guys and make this a 10x and this a 3x, because notice a 10x and a 3x make you have 13, and then it's plus 15. So I broke this trinomial up into, into a polynomial with 4 terms. Now, once I have an equivalent statement with 4 terms, I group. So remember yesterday, we did a split down the middle, like a banana split, and we grouped the first 2, and we grouped the last 2. So here, I can take out a 2x, and I am left with an x plus 5. Here, I can take out a positive 3, and I'm left with an x plus 5. Now look, I have matches. I bring out that greatest common factor of x plus 5, and my leftovers go here. So I group, I factor out the term from each group. So here, this is this step right here. Okay, and then I simply factored it. Now, we always check our answers. So x times 2x is 2x squared. X times 3 is 3x. 5 times 2 is 10x plus a 15. That combines together to give you the 13x, and everything works. So we are factored. So what is good about this method? Well, it will take the guesswork out of everything. Things just happen naturally. It also does the signs for you. But why would this method not be very good? Well, if it's very easy to do in your head, then of course you would just factor with guessing and checking. But as you know, some of you don't like guessing and checking. So this is just another method of using what you already know and applying it to a grouping problem. So let's go ahead and move down here to box number 1. And let's look at 2x squared plus 21x minus 11. Okay, so if I come over here and I multiply my 2 and negative 11, I would get a negative 22. And I take my b basement and put it here in the bottom. And I automatically think of negative 22 as having the factors of 22 and 1. And if I make the 1 a negative and add these together, I can get a positive 21. So I have them in this order, and the order does not matter. That's what's so great about this. It will work either way you choose to put these numbers here. So now we make an equivalent statement. We have a 2x squared plus a 22x minus an x minus 11. So this comes straight down, this comes straight down. Here, that splits up to give you a different way to express the 21. Now you have 4 terms. Now you group. So you take out a 2x. It is going to be an x plus 11. Here you take out a negative. Remember, this can never be negative. And it's going to be a negative 1. And it's going to be an x plus 11. We have a match. So x plus 11 comes out. 2x minus 1 falls into the place. So you have x plus 11 and 2x minus 1. A quick check will show you that is a 22x. That is a negative 1x for a middle of 21. Now, some teachers call this the house method. I know Algebra 2 teachers here. This is what they do. They make a little house. And at the top of the house, they call this 2 times this is negative 22x squared. That's the top. Okay, but it's just doing the same little thing, but you can kind of see a house going on right there. Okay, so I would like for you to try number 2, 8x squared minus 14x minus 15. So if you notice, the first thing, the numbers get bigger. So go ahead and try to think of numbers that 8 times negative 15. Think about that. I may just go ahead and do this one with you since it's a little bit bigger, because that's going to give me 120, that's negative, and then negative 14. Now, this one here may be a little bit harder to guess and check with since the numbers are so big. Notice it did not have a greatest common factor. So what you would simply do is you would take your calculator and start running through the list. So 120 divided by 2 is 60. There's no way there. And they're kind of far apart. 120 divided by 3, still not going to give me 14. 120 divided by 4, still not going to give me 14, but I'm getting closer. 120 divided by 5 gives me 24. There's still no way to get 14. 120 divided by 6 gives me 20, and that's our winning combination. So we have a 6 and a 20. I need a negative 14, so the negative goes right there. So now, remember, A times C is in the top, B, the basement's in the bottom. Now rewrite, bring this straight down, bring this straight down, but now take these numbers and call them a 6x minus a 20x. So here I have a 2x in common, so I can bring out a 2, and I get x plus, actually I get a 4x plus 3. And here I can take out a negative 5, and I get a 4x plus 3. I have a match. Bring that out, write leftovers down, and you are factored. So here is a great example of when grouping takes out all of those guesses and checks, because you would have a 1, 8, 2, 4, a 1, 15, a 3, and a 5. But with grouping, we just had to run through a couple of factors, and we got to the answer fairly quick. Okay, so now you try number 3, 3x squared minus 13x minus 10. So if you could pause the video and try that one. Okay, here's my work for the first one here. I multiplied these, negative 30, put the 13 here. I opted to put the negative 15 on the left and the 2 here. So here is the negative 15 here and the 2 here. and I want to show you how, when I did it this way, I had an x minus 5 match. However, you did this one by yourself. So what if you switch these two numbers and you now have the 2 on the left? So I want you to compare the work here. I told you it did not matter which order you put them in. So if you put the 2 here and the negative 15 here, your match was a 3x plus 2. But look at the answers. This answer and this answer. They're different in the fact that the order is different, but the factors are the same. And remember, the commutative property lets you switch those factors. So that's what I'm saying. If you can figure these numbers out, there is absolutely zero guessing and checking. Now, the last thing I want to show you in box 4, sometimes people will do this with a box trick. I'm not really a big fan of this. However, I am going to show you because we did multiply this way. So here's what some people do. It's the same idea as grouping, but they will draw a box into 4 pieces, and they know that 3x squared will go here and a negative 10 will go here. So it's the same concept here. So what they do is they do a negative 30 here and a negative 13 here, and then they guess and check to find the numbers. So I'm going to do that. And then they put in these numbers inside the box. So this will be a negative 15x and this will be a 2x. So then what they do is they take out a greatest common factor this way. So this way here they have an x in common. This way has a negative 5 in common. Sideways they have a 3x in common, and this way they have a 2 in common. But if you look here, x minus 5 is over here, and 3x plus 2 is right here. So some people like this way better. I prefer this way. It's more mathematical, but I still wanted to show you that. So this concludes grouping, and that's the end of this video.